Week 8, we're here. It's been we're I guess almost halfway through the season, not quite. It
Yeah.
would be we would be halfway through this. No, I guess we would still. Next week we'll be halfway.
Yeah, before 1991, we'd be.
Yeah,
I think that's when they started doing the bye weeks.
but I think the way I put the NFL right now, things are getting weird. Not getting weird. Things are getting real, I should say. I think the playoff fields or race is starting to take shape. I think you have some clarity. You're starting to get some clarity, like teams like the Raiders. We'll talk about them later. The Panthers, they're already out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's so fun about this year is I think there's probably 11 teams, 12 teams in the NFC still in the playoff hunt, per se. And then in the AFC, I'd probably say a similar number. I mean, I think it's going to be a very exciting end of the season. Even the races to the top, like I think in each conference, there's like 4 teams I could legit see being the 1 seed. It's pretty crazy. I think the Chiefs are like the 4th best team in the AFC right now, but they have the best record. So and they have the win over Baltimore, so they have that for them. So it should be pretty exciting. But you had kind of a low key weekend. You didn't have to watch the Bears play.
Yeah, for once, it's very rare that a Bears bye week comes around where I actually go, man, I wish the Bears are playing today.
Yeah, that is true, because it's one of those, like, you almost kind of want to keep seeing that momentum play out. And of course, like, they didn't really win their bye week per se, because Green Bay had that last second win against Houston.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to have a great outcome for Detroit, Minnesota, because one of them.
The best thing that happened to them was Tampa Bay losing, really.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, and that's one of the talking points we'll get to when we talk about, some of these NFC North teams in the week's preview, because every team in the NFL is playing this weekend, no bye weeks. So it might be a longer episode. But that's one thing that will be interesting. I think if these NFC North teams keep winning at the rate that they are, you're going to get 4. Like I think, and
that would be awesome.
As the West and the South kind of eat at each other, like the Saints and the Falcons are done. I think we can almost pencil them in as toast, right? But even the NFC East, like the Cowboys,
Saints and the Panthers, you mean, right?
What did I say? The Falcons?
The Falcons, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Saints and the Panthers are done. But even in the East, like, there's not necessarily,
like, Dallas could be done after this week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the NFC North, I think, is where all the wild card contenders might be.
And, like, one of the things too that, like, obviously you'll hear as the year goes on, if this continues to play out the way it's looking right now. Now, they'll start, as we've said before, they'll start to cannibalize each other eventually. But you'll hear, like, oh, no division has never all made the playoffs before. But the Bears, Vikings, Lions, and Packers did all make the playoffs in one season.
That's true.
Do you know what year it was?
The Bears, Lions, and Packers, and the
Vikings all made the playoffs one year.
So all 4 of those. Tampa was really bad.
Yes.
92?
Close. 94.
94. Okay, because not every team in the division made it.
Yes. Yeah, not everybody in the division, but all 4 of the now NFC North teams were once in the playoffs together.
So it's actually happened before. We have
I'm assuming that's the only time that it happened.
And that was a 16 playoff field, not a 17 playoff.
Yes. So 2/3 of the playoffs were from one division, and the other 2 teams were just division winners.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy to think about, actually. But
and the 2 teams that were the other 2 teams were the ones that made the NFC Championship.
Really?
Yeah, it would have been the 49ers and the Cowboys, right?
Yeah, of course. So
94? Yeah.
So and that's probably what's going to happen this year. Is like it'll be the 49ers against like the Falcons in the NFC.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we're going to mix it up a little bit this week. I had an idea, and I'll kind of run with it this week. We'll kind of see how the flow of the show goes. We're still trying to master what we like about the show. It's kind of a work in progress every week. So instead of doing the settling for 3 where we pick 3 topics, I'm actually going to give Neil 5 observations kind of mid-season
Okay.
that I've noticed or that I think are very interesting storylines that not everybody has talked about. Like I guess some have talked about them, but they're not as mainstream, I guess, as we're not just going to talk about the Cowboys and Russell Wilson and
Yes.
Steelers, right? So anyway, my first I guess note. Did you know that Cincinnati is 6th in the NFL in DVOA?
Wow.
Yeah. They are actually a top end team, and we have not really considered that because of their record. But if
Yeah.
you actually look at, just go look at their point differential, right? Pretty damn good. I mean, like
Yeah.
they are not necessarily a team that you look at that's 3 and 4 that is a bottom rung team. But if you look at they really had the Ravens beat if McPherson just makes a field goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Patriot game is awful. Like that's a game you regret. They had the Chiefs beat at Arrowhead.
And the
Right?
Patriots haven't won since.
Make one play and don't commit pass interference. And that it was the right call, but they had Kansas City on the ropes. I mean, that's 3 of their losses that are just, I think the only team that convincingly beat them, and it looked worse at the time, was Washington. But now Washington looks like one of the best teams in the league too.
Yeah, that's when we were talking about the Bengals having like their defense almost like historically bad, like for a Lou Anarumo defense.
But they've really made strides. I granted against 2 really bad offenses. I mean, 7 points against the Giants, 14 against the Browns. But I mean, I think a really bad defense.
Sometimes that's what gets you going.
Yeah, they get some confidence, and to the point I made earlier, they had to play the Ravens, they had to play the Chiefs, they had to play the Commanders. Those are like the Chiefs, not necessarily right now, but the Commanders and Ravens are basically the number 1 and 2 offenses in the NFL right now. Or Detroit's up there too, but like they're top 5 units, right? So I think the Bengals are a team that I think people need to kind of slowly watch out for. They're not that far behind in the standings either. I mean, everybody kind of is chalking that up as Baltimore's division. And Baltimore is 5-2, Pittsburgh's 5-2, but we don't really know a lot about them. I think Cincinnati might have something to say if they can get on a run here. So that's kind of the first thing that shocked me, because the one team they're better than are the undefeated Chiefs, who are 7th in DVOA. So the Bengals right now are actually a better team analytically than Kansas City. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Number 2, and this is kind of mind-blowing to me because it's such a bad offense. But Brock Bowers, the rookie tight end from Georgia, who got drafted, I think, 13th overall to the Raiders, is on pace for 114 receptions this season as a rookie at tight end. That's freaking stupid.
Oh, my Lord.
That would break the rookie record for receptions, not by a tight end, but by any receiver, which would break Puka Nakua's from last year. And that would actually, he's only 2 receptions off pace of Zach Ertz's tight end record of 116 set in 2018. So Brock Bowers is literally like on pace to break some records.
Yeah, wow.
I think people aren't like, the Raiders are so bad, but that's actually a story to me of like, we're seeing a player that is like Hall of Fame good. Andy Reid now has an equal win percentage as Bill Belichick.
Hey.
So I think they're at 624, or excuse me, I think it's 654, something like that. I noticed that when I was looking at, I think I was looking at something else completely, but they have the same regular season win percentage. So, and if Andy Reid can get one more Super Bowl, I think he's like in the conversation of like, I hate, this is such cliche, but the Mount Rushmore of NFL coaches.
Yeah.
Like, he would be up there because that'd be number 4. the regular season results are also there, and the longevity, I think, is really what's starting to set Andy Reid apart. And that actually is something that he's going to have most likely over Belichick, is the longevity. Because Belichick only had a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years in Cleveland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he started in 2000, but Andy Reid actually started in Philly in 99.
Yeah.
So they're pretty close. Like, Bill Belichick will be out of football this year, and Andy Reid's going to pick up another season. Like, they're going to be really, really close in terms of a lot of their career totals. I doubt Andy Reid catches him on Super Bowls because he'd have to win 3 more. But very, very interesting, I thought. And sometimes I even underestimate Andy Reid and his ability to, his career resume. Jared Goff is currently completing 73.6% of his attempts. By the way, that's not even the most accurate quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah, because of Jayden Daniels, right?
Jayden Daniels is 75.6, which is on pace to set the all-time record. I think Drew Brees set it like 74%.
I thought it was Sam Bradford that set the record.
He was at like 71. You're talking about the 2016 season?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he got traded in preseason. And then he took the ambulance ride to Phoenix. That's still like one of my all-time favorite memes.
The greatest tweet of all time was, here comes Sam Bradford has arrived in Arizona.
It was an ambulance.
Ambulance screaming down the road.
But just like Bowers, Jayden Daniels is having a special season. I think like that kind of took me off guard because I think a lot of people were like, oh, Jayden Daniels, like really, really good runner. But like, I mean, he's putting up some unreal passing statistics on top of that.
Absolutely.
And then TJ Watt is on pace for his 6th 90-plus PFF grade season, which that doesn't sound crazy, but like one thing, like if for anybody that follows a lot of PFF stuff, like I know a lot of people criticize it, but great players do tend to get like 85 plus grades consistently every year. The only guy that I've ever seen come close to the amount that TJ Watt is getting is when Aaron Donald played in the league.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, though, was like literally a robot. If you look at his PFF resume, though, have you ever looked at it?
I've never, but I've looked at there somebody had, I think like his pass rush win rate over the years. I seen a chart, and like every year he was head and shoulders above the rest of the.
It's like he was playing on rookie mode.
Yeah.
But so Aaron Donald got drafted in 2014, and he never had a season below 90.
Oh my God.
TJ Watt is basically the same, but his rookie year wasn't quite as good. That's pretty much it. Because TJ Watt got drafted in 17. So he's been 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So his first 2 seasons, he was like in the mid 80s. And he's been 90 plus ever since. I think people are not realizing how special. I mean, people do realize how like TJ Watt is a special player, but like I'm going to even say this. He's the best Watt. Like he's better than JJ.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's yeah.
But I think it's true. I think he's actually going
definitely
to
better than Derek.
Yeah. Who's the other? Wasn't there a fourth? Or was there only 3?
I thought it was just the 3.
Derek was the fullback, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's the one thing I'll always like. Ted Thompson probably just if he had retired a year early, I think we would have ended up with TJ Watt. I'm just thinking about that. Like that's like that was the Kevin King draft, by the way, in 2017. So we had a chance to draft TJ Watt. And we're like, no, we're going to trade back. We'll get a corner in round 2. And we drafted Kevin King. And Kevin King had a couple of seasons where he was okay, but most people remember him for the Scotty Miller touchdown.
Yeah. And there was another touchdown that game too that he covering Evans, and Evans mossed him.
Yeah, well, Evans does that every
Yeah, right.
unless it's Marshawn Lattimore. That's the only guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of my 5 notes.
Some
So
interesting ones there.
you get to do next week, I think is the way we're gonna do it. So
Okay.
yeah, your turn next week. But I like those little stats. My favorite one was the Brock Bowers one because that's like that was actually kind of mind blowing to me that a rookie tight end on a crappy offense is gonna possibly set a record for like an all time like tight end record his first
Yeah.
season in the league. But he's averaging like 11, 12 targets. Like if you have him in fantasy, it's ridiculous. So, but that's my 5 facts for the week. So next week you'll get to do it. But let's dive into the game. Vikings Rams Thursday night.
Yeah.
They've actually, last week was a pretty disappointing Thursday night game, which most of them I feel are terrible Thursday night matchups, but this one I don't think is. We talked about the Bengals being like a team that has a losing record, but is a lot better than their record. Would you agree that the Rams kind of qualify as a team that's better than their record?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we even brought that up last week when they were 1-4, and we were saying, even though that was a lot closer of a game than it should have been, it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, they'll get cut back this week. And I believe Puka Nacua has already been activated in terms of coming off the IR. Well, not
Cup should be
activated
back, too.
but he's back to practice, I should say.
Yeah.
The thing that's kind of been surprising me about the Rams this week. Now, I don't believe that whole Matt Stafford trade rumor.
I don't either. It doesn't make sense. And
doesn't make
especially why
sense.
would the Vikings do it when they
You're
have all
right.
this momentum?
Yes, I feel like that would, and I hope it doesn't happen, obviously, but but I feel like the Rams, like that. I mean, if they lost this week, you could see them saying, okay, let's start selling off some guys. But I don't know. I feel like a win this week, and obviously the NFC it's tough right now. There's a log jam in the wild card with obviously the NFC North teams and a couple other teams that are knocking on the door. But I feel like the Rams should feel like there's still a lot of football left, as Aaron Nagler says, a lot of ball game left. Will we ever get him on the show?
Who?
Aaron Nagler.
Aaron Nagler? Yeah, we've tried.
I wish he understood how much we talk about it in private.
Yeah. Hey, Nagler.
Hey, Nagler.
Yeah, we make fun of Packer fans are like I am one. It's one of the most annoying fan bases in all the NFL. So.
But no, yeah, I feel like the Rams should be looking at this like, and maybe this is like a way that they're trying to like light a fire under the team to say like, hey, you know what, like, this is how close we are to selling off some pieces, but we also feel like we're right there. Like we could compete still in this NFC this year. And they're probably getting the Vikings at the best time right now.
Yeah.
We've made kind of like jokes about maybe the Vikings are like the 2016 version. Well, the 2016 version also started 5-0.
And Sam Darnold feels a lot like Sam Bradford in terms of like same name, same first name, obviously, but it's also
you had an injury to a young quarterback in camp.
Yeah, they already had Darnold in the house, but I think and I think if you look historically at what Darnold's career has always been, it's fast starts. Well, I guess with the Panthers it was. With the Jets, it just never started. But
yes.
As the Jets offenses rarely do start. But I think with Darnold, the question we always had was like, is this sustainable over a 17-game sample?
Yeah.
But I don't think in the Lions game, I think they were very competitive. I mean, it's not like they got blown out. I mean, they were leading until the last second of the game.
The one thing that Vikings game might have done though is now not everybody has Ben Johnson as an offensive coordinator and Jared Goff, who runs that offense very well. But I think they might have given a game plan to teams to how to attack that
It's
that
possible.
heavy blitz defense that the Vikings employ,
Yeah.
um, that has worked for them so far this year. But as you know, as we've noted, they've been so good despite the fact that they're kind of talent devoid.
I think
So that's
too that
that's when the scheme has to win. But if teams start being able to figure out how to beat the scheme, that might open a hole for the Vikings.
yeah, because like you mentioned, I think it's more scheme than it is necessarily, personnel that they have that's
Yes.
like they don't I don't think they have like all these players that are just I don't think it's just talent necessarily that's
Yeah.
winning out. I mean, I think it's Brian Flores putting together a masterpiece in the first 5 weeks of the
And Sean
season.
McVay and Matt Stafford might be the head coach quarterback combination that could continue to drill into that.
Yeah. Well, and especially if they have these receivers back, I think that's a key. One of the other things I'll always bring up with the Rams, and like I think people underestimate what makes their offense so good when all these players are on the field, is like Cup and Nakua are really explosive, even though they're not necessarily like speedsters, like, but they produce big plays. I think
Yeah.
it opens up Tutu Atwell to be like a vertical threat for like a big 30 to 40 yard play, like one per game, but it's always there. And the other thing is like they have more trips to the red zone with these guys on the field. And I still believe this team is one of the better red zone teams in all of football because of the running back that they have in Kyron Williams.
Mhm.
When you think of like running backs that are good in the red zone, like you would never think of a guy that's like 5'9", 195 pounds. But this guy is like he's special. Like he knows how to find the end zone. I can't explain it, but like I think the Rams are going to actually be a real challenge for the Vikings. I do like the Vikings to be able to put up a ton of points in this game, though. I do not like the Rams defense
Yes.
at
No, the
all.
Rams defense is just they're figuring things. They have some guys that are like
Jared
Jared Verse
versus
has been
Jared versus
awesome.
excellent.
That might be my best prediction that I made this year, and it's not even that great of a prediction.
But
But for him to win defensive player of the or defensive rookie of the year,
and he's pretty
um,
much he's like their silver lining on defense. Like that's
yes,
about it. But I think they're kind of in a rebuilding process. They haven't really put a lot of draft capital into anything, but they haven't put a lot of draft capital into the defense, and I think it's
hmm
starting to show a little bit. Uh, I I think the Vikings are going to have plenty of explosive plays. I mean, their personnel alone with Addison and Jefferson, obviously. Is Hawkinson going to be available, or is he still a couple weeks out?
I think he played, or excuse me, he practiced this week because
Yeah,
I have him on my
he's pretty close. I don't know if he'll
yeah
play in this game though.
probably no, it's not on a short week. Yeah,
No, I think they'll bring him back next week. But I think these are very similar teams, which is weird to say because one team's 5-1 and the other's 2-4. But I'm actually going to take the Rams here. I'm going to take them in a 4-point game. It's going to be high scoring, 31-27.
yeah. I want to take the Rams, and I think it is going to be very close. Um, I just think that Justin Jefferson is going to win a few battles in that secondary. Um, Go Rams though, but I think it's going to be Vikings.
Yeah.
A similar score to yourself, but obviously flip 28-24.
I think it's a cop out, but whoever doesn't turn the ball over, I think like that's
Yes.
because I think the explosives are going to come. I think if you're just a neutral observer that wants offense, this is probably the matchup of the week. I
Yeah.
would think. Because the defenses, in my opinion, aren't. The Vikings have been schemed up well, but I don't think they necessarily have like the players. And then the Rams just don't have the defense at all. So
Yeah.
it should be a fun game to watch. So you have the Vikings, I have the Rams. So we went different on the first game.
Yeah. It's a rarity.
Uh, this game is like Philly's kind of I don't know what to make of them because I was so out on them last week, but they got to play a garbage New York team, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really high on Cincinnati because if you look at like all their weighted metrics, they're a lot better. I think Joe Burrow is playing really good football too. Um, I think it's a must-win game for Cincy, and I think Philly is going to be. I feel like Philly is going to be this team all year where they're hot and cold. Um, I just to be quick here, I'm going to take the Bengals here at home by a touchdown, 24-17.
Yeah, Philly, it was kind of funny last week. They had kind of like I guess their first feel good victory of the year. And of course, Sirianni had that clip of him on the sidelines talking to Saquon Barkley. Oh, I'd like to get you your rushing record, your single game rushing record that you've never had or whatever. And I feel like that was totally him like trying to make up for looking like a total ass last week. But whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's a must win for both teams because the Eagles do have to, but the Eagles
they have to keep pace with the Commanders. That's the problem.
With the Commanders, and they have to keep pace in the wild card.
Yeah, I think for like the first month of the season, everybody's like, well, at least the Cowboys are losing too. But I think no one realized it's like maybe the Commanders like run away with this thing.
Yeah,
like they might be without Jaden Daniels this week, and we'll go to them later. But I think with Philly, if they do it this week and they can pull off a win at Cincinnati, I'll start reconsidering my position on this team. I still don't like the coach, and for some reason, they're still hell-bent on making this a Jalen Hurts-centric offense when it's not. The best player on this offense is Saquon Barkley. They have to run the ball a lot better and more than they have in the first. Like, I think even though he's had a big season, they've underutilized him so much. And let Saquon in the run game open up everything for Devonta Smith and AJ Brown down the field, which is where they've been excelling. To me, I feel like they just try to force the Jalen Hurts thing so much. And Jalen Hurts has not played that great this year. I do expect a lot of explosive plays in this game just because that's number one what the Bengals offense does is explosive plays. And then Philly, I think, will be able to move the ball with the players they have against a bad Bengals unit. I don't care. They played two bad teams. I'm not necessarily bought into them either. But like I said, I think I'm going to take Cincinnati here just because I do like them better as a team, and they're at home.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cincinnati by a field goal. I think one of the things we'll be talking about maybe next week is the fact that, you had a 1-4 Bengals team a month ago or less than a month ago. And now look at them. They're at 500 and they have the rest of the season to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's this will decide a lot of what's going to obviously as teams in the NFC, like we definitely are going to be watching this one. We want the Bengals to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fan of a team in the AFC, you want the Eagles. So it's like, because these teams are going to be probably contending for wild card spots in their respective conferences. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. Baltimore's playing like one of the best teams in the NFL right now, and Cleveland's playing like one of the worst. And I expect that to remain the same this week. I'm going to take, I think the spread is like Rams or what are the Ravens like? I'll let you guess it. What do you think the spread is in this game?
I'm going to say 8.5.
Right on the money. I think it should be a lot more than that. It's like, what's bad though, is what would the number be if Deshaun Watson was playing?
10.5.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and is it going to be Jameis or is it going to be Thompson Robinson?
Yeah.
Like, that's the only interesting thing about this game is Baltimore's going to win. The question is by how much. I'm thinking I'll be conservative. I'm going to go 27-10. If Jameis plays, weird stuff could happen, but they don't have the horses anymore. They don't have the weapons to keep up with this Ravens offense. I'm taking the Ravens all the way, 27-10.
Yeah. I'm taking the Ravens too. I'm going to take them 31-10. And then my prediction also with this is if it is 31-10, I think Kevin Stefanski gets fired.
Yeah. And he would become probably one of the hottest coaching candidates in
Yeah.
the next cycle, I would think. I mean,
Yeah.
2-time coach of the year. How often does that happen? And Cleveland is probably destined. I mean, you have to think like they sold everything to get Deshaun Watson in the building. And that's clearly, I mean, even if Watson comes back and plays again, I mean, it's going to be a year and some change probably before that happens with the torn Achilles.
Yeah.
He hasn't been good in 4 years now.
Yeah.
And it's over. And this team
he
now
might have
has
taken his last snap as an NFL quarterback.
probably. And what's crazy to think is do the Browns, who has it worse going forward? Is it Carolina or Cleveland?
Cleveland's, because Cleveland's roster is so much older.
I think, and it's going to be crazy. I think you're going to have to shop Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you need to start. Yeah.
Myles Garrett, you are
Wyatt Teller.
You are a Los Angeles Ram.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can see it.
Watch that. That's going to happen if the Rams win a couple of games. Like
Myles Garrett.
No, I'm telling you, Les Snead is dying to trade those first. Like, dying. He doesn't want to spend first round.
They haven't picked White back to back in the first round in like 10 years.
You know what's really obnoxious though about like Les Snead and the Rams is they finally had a first round pick in last year's draft, and they probably drafted the defensive rookie of the year. Like, that's so obnoxious, but like to their credit, like their scouting department just seems on point with that stuff. So,
do you know what I was thinking? This will be the last point I'll make about. Oh, by the way, we'll have to change that Browns helmet. We got to get the white face mask.
Oh yeah.
But do you know what I was thinking?
For the
How
team,
terrible of a weekend was that for the Cleveland sports fans? You lose the ALCS. You had 2 home games that went to extras that you lost to the Yankees. And then on Sunday, Watson tears his Achilles. You lose again.
Yeah, that's not great.
No.
Yeah. And then Baltimore, meanwhile, the former Browns seem like one of the top teams in the AFC. So
yeah,
big yikes. Lions hosting the Titans. I think this is another one we don't have to. There's a lot of bad games this weekend.
Yeah.
Right? And there's not a ton of great matchups.
There's been a lot of great matchups all year. Last week was a good weekend for it.
Last week was great. Because like Texans Packers was like probably the 3rd best game of the weekend.
Yeah.
In terms of matchup, and like no one was watching it because they were all watching Lions Vikings.
Yeah.
I think Lions, I would argue they're the best team in the NFL right now.
Yes.
And I think Tennessee's the 2nd worst team in the NFL. Give me Lions. I'm going to give you same scores, the Ravens, Browns. I'm going to go 27-10.
Yeah.
Is Levis playing, or is it going to be Rudolph?
It's going to be Rudolph.
Yeah.
So we'll go 34-13 Detroit. Yeah, the 2 best teams in the league, I think, are the last 2 teams we've covered.
Yep. Cardinals, Dolphins. 2 is back.
Yeah.
So
CTU is back.
Yeah, 2 is back, and then the Cardinals escaped last week with a really big win. It kind of just went under the radar because I think most people were watching the game. That you
only 1.8 million people watched.
Yeah. Who would have thought putting an NFL game behind a paywall was stupid?
Yeah, with 2 small market. Well, not small. Well, obviously one of those. The second biggest.
Competing with another game.
Yes.
And I'd be pissed if I were Chargers or a Cardinals fan. It's like, you're really going to make me, like, you're not going to make the Ravens fan buy ESPN Plus.
I'm so happy. You know, I miss my grandfather very, very much. He was my closest friend of all time. I'm so happy I don't have to explain to him that half of the games in the NFL are behind paywalls now.
Because you have to get Peacock.
He wouldn't understand it. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I canceled my free trial. I got the free trial of Peacock.
You'll have to get it back for the playoffs.
Well, granted, if it's an AFC game, which it almost always is, that might just be the game that I don't watch. Like, because
Yeah.
and like last year, if you got Peacock and then you watch the Dolphins' effort in that game
Yeah.
against Kansas City, it's like, why did I waste the
Don't
$4?
forget we have a Netflix Christmas Day game this year
Yeah,
too.
I have Netflix. I don't
Yeah,
really,
I have Netflix too.
but it's in principle, it's stupid because now you're gonna have to have like 8 different services, and it's like, why don't you just make all the games available on
Yeah,
an app? Like, if you want to have all of them,
right.
but or make them free on broadcast TV. What's the wrong? But we don't have to go into that. I think
Yeah.
this game 2 weeks ago, you look at this and you're like, oh, sorry. That's a gross game. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But Cardinals Dolphins. It's a game 2 weeks ago. I would have gone, that's disgusting. This is actually kind of intriguing because like the Cardinals kind of had, to me, like, I wouldn't say unexpected, but
They're the most hot and cold team in the league.
yeah. They do not win back-to-back games. That's just that never happens.
No.
So with that being said, I think like Miami is like the team that they are waiting
Yes.
to go crazy. And I think this might be the week to do it. I feel like we are waiting for a Tyreek Hill 80-yard touchdown or a Devon Achane 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen this
Is
week.
Jalen Waddle even still playing? Because I haven't heard that guy's name in months.
And as bad as Miami's been, they're 2-4. Like, they can get back in the race pretty quickly. Like, they get the Cardinals, but they get the Cardinals, Bills, Rams. Those are 3 tough games. If they can get to like 3-5, then you get the Raiders and Patriots. Heading into Thanksgiving 5-5, like, you're in the mix. As bad as the season is gone, the season is not over. However, there's also in the back of my mind, like, maybe the Dolphins actually are bad and it's not just a Tua problem, because like they weren't exactly great when Tua was in there week 1 and 2.
No, they weren't.
So I'm still going to take Miami simply because I can't take Kyler in back-to-back weeks. Give me Miami in overtime, 23-20.
I'm also going to take the Dolphins to win. I think they're going to put up 27 points though, so which would be, for them at this point, would be an offensive explosion. 23 points would be an offensive explosion. I'll have the same points allowed though, so 27-20 Miami.
Okay. Oh God. Jets.
Do you think when Aaron Rodgers says that to stop listening to the media, he's talking about us too?
Maybe. Are we really that fan? We have 6 viewers. That's a lot for us.
That is, yeah.
Thank you to those viewers, those 6 people that are watching.
And one of them is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of the show.
Yeah. We're just like Pat McAfee. But yeah, what I thought was awesome is like the main highlight, Devontae Adams. I love how we just dropped from 6 to 4 there. But the main highlight of Devontae Adams' debut game with the Jets was him making a tackle on an interception. Oh God.
What the funniest thing was when they were talking, like, the whole broadcast going into that game was like, Rodgers has been waiting for this for 3 or 2 years to get, or 3 years to get back with Devontae, make this work again. They've been repping it all in practice. And the first play of the game, he misses Adams by a good bit.
The thing that always rubbed me wrong about how it all ended with Devontae and Aaron Rodgers is, number one, in a playoff game, he tries to force a 50-yard ball in the snow down the field to Devontae when Allen Lazard was wide open over the middle. That rubbed me the wrong way. But it was like the whole Last Dance. It's just drama. It's always drama with those two. And it's like, you were great 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Awesome. Like, scoring touchdowns, winning MVPs. I get it. But it's too late. Like this team's I could see them going to Foxborough and losing this game. That's what's crazy. Like they're so discombobulated on offense, and Rodgers is not playing well. And just like the same conversation, it's not as extreme, but Deshaun Watson hasn't been good in 3 years. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been good in the last 3 years either.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last great season Aaron Rodgers had was 2021. And he's actually really been on the decline for the last 4 because I would always say the 2020 season was by far better than the 2021 season, even though he won the MVP and they had the same record. I will just always say that with this team, it's a little too late, and they poured all of their assets into two old guys, and in a way, I think they're like completely stunted the growth of some of their better younger players. Mm-hmm. And the thing that no one wants to talk about with the Jets are how bad they are on defense. Like they're not a good defensive team right now, which is kind of crazy to say because they have so much talent. Like Will McDonald looks really good. A really good draft pick from last year's class. And it's the same story with the Jets. Like they draft good players, quote unquote, that have good individual stat lines like Sauce Gardner, but they don't play that well as a unit. Like they gave up 30 plus points to Russell Wilson. And we were all making fun of the Steelers for playing Wilson because he's washed up.
Yeah.
It's not just the offense. It's the whole damn team. They're not good. They're not well coached. They're never in the right place at the wrong time. You can tell they don't play together, and like you can tell they don't practice a lot. You can tell that they're hurt. You can tell that they're old. They haven't invested well in the lines of scrimmage, especially in the offensive line, and it shows. Despite that, they're going to win by 10 because I think the Patriots are just that much more awful. So give me the Jets in this game. And it's going to be ugly. It's going to be 20. I'm going to say 20-14, and it's going to be gross.
Yeah. 4 straight losses for the Jets. Their last win was against the Patriots, of all teams, ironically. It's and I couldn't be happier that everything is just blowing up for them. Talking about bad weekends, if you lived in Queens, you had a bad Sunday night with the Mets losing, and then the Jets.
The Jets fan that I know is a Yankees fan. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he had a really good weekend up until Sunday night, but the worst thing about this whole experience as a Packers fan watching this is like I'm thinking about it's like this team probably would have had the same results last year if Aaron had played the entire season, and we would have ended up with like Jared Verse.
Yeah, I mean, well, and see that's the thing, like.
But he tore his Achilles, so he didn't get that first round pick.
At this same stage last year, they were 4-3 with Zach Wilson, and they couldn't wait to get rid of Zach Wilson. Yeah, and I'm not trying to, pander to Zach Wilson's crowd here or anything like that. But I mean, it's unbelievable how I really. We talked last week about, has there ever been an athlete like Deshaun Watson? I don't know if there's ever been somebody like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like a guy that, like, what happened to him that was he always this massive control freak? Was he?
I think
he was like, I liked him actually for a time in Green Bay because he was a funny guy. He was noticed? Likeable.
But have you noticed though? Have you watched the Packers a lot this year? Like I know you're a Bears fan, so you watch your team first. But like,
I actually, as much as the Packers are on TV here, I haven't had much of a chance to watch besides week 1.
Just like I hate this word, but like the vibe check from that team is like night and day difference. Mm-hmm. So like. They make play like you can just tell that they play loose. They're like they play with. I hate this word too, but like they play with joy, right?
You probably don't feel like everybody hates you anymore either.
Yeah, it's like these young guys. They have like young energy and it just seems like when he left, like it was addition by subtraction, which is crazy because he's like an all-time great quarterback. But like all that negative energy is in New York now, but it's like he's not putting out the results that he was in Green Bay because like he's 40 years old coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah.
I think what you're feeling, what you're watching in 2024 is what the 2022 Packers look like. So I could see them making a little bit of a run towards the end of the season, but they're not anything more than an 8-9 win team at best.
Yes.
But if they lose this weekend, it's like officially over. Like they have to win this game.
Yeah.
And they're 2 wins, by the way. A home win against New England, bad
on a short week,
and then they beat Tennessee.
Yeah,
like and Tennessee's only win was against a Miami team that didn't have Tua.
Yeah, so the 2 worst teams in the AFC they beat.
Yeah, so they got to win this one just to tread water for another week.
Yeah, I'm gonna take them 23. You know what? Screw it. Drake May is going to beat the Jets this week.
That's the one thing about this game that would make me nervous. Like if you had a survivor pool or something and you were going to take the Jets, just because if a lot of people are like, well, I'm never going to use the Jets again this year. I'll use them now against the Patriots. That's the one thing that would worry me a little bit. Yeah. It's like Drake May is the young quarterback, and he does make some plays. And the one thing I will point out is they did have a 10-0 lead against Jacksonville last week.
Their defense, their run game just got shredded.
Yeah, I'm not. I also think the worst coach in the NFL right now is Gerard Mayo.
I've heard things that he might be one and done.
I think they should fire him already. Like to me, if you're calling your team soft, it's like, well, dude, you're the coach.
Belichick took a big exception to that.
Well, yeah, because those are his players.
Those are his guys. Yeah.
Well,
And he was taking pot shots at Belichick on the way out, as was Kraft, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure Belichick's just laughing his ass off.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna roll with New England.
I'm going the Jets, and it's not an endorsement of the Jets. Falcons, Bucks. Kind of mad at the NFL schedule makers for this one because this is the second game of the series, and it's week 8.
Yeah.
So we already got Halloween. This. We got this game like 3 weeks ago, and we get it again.
Yeah, and Tampa is not
so beat up now
right now.
I mean, they lost their Evans won't play in this game for sure.
No, Evans is out. He might
Godwin's probably out for the year.
Yeah.
So I'll say one thing about I'm taking the Falcons. I'll take them in this game. I'm not a fan of that team. I still don't really buy into them. I think they're a classic 4 seed to me, where they're just kind of a fraud, but they'll end up winning 9-10 games. But
whoever the second place team is in the NFC North, I'll probably beat them in the playoffs.
I'm so freaking pissed at Todd Bowles for what he did on Monday night. Why are you playing? You're down. The game is over. Why are we stat padding with Chris Godwin and getting hurt like that? And that's going to be as much as people remember Mike Evans' injury, Godwin is their chain mover. He's a valuable piece for them to have offensively. I think they're really going to struggle a lot. I think without him, it'll be interesting to see. They have that 3-headed monster, and they've been pretty good at running the ball this year with Tucker.
Unlike them as of late.
Yeah. Rashad White's not even really a running back anymore. He's more of just the receiving backfield guy. But it's I'm going to take Atlanta, but I'm not happy about it. But I just can't see myself picking Tampa with the injuries that they have.
Yeah.
And their defense
Tampa, that's and they might get Evans back in a few weeks, but that seems like a talk about a death blow.
Drake London also just destroyed the secondary the last time they played.
Yeah.
It was one of those it's how you're supposed to use a guy like Drake London, where it was just a 4-yard in pattern and just hammer him with targets, and he'll get 5-6 yards after the catch and plow through a couple of guys. And he just did that 12 times, it felt like.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do the same thing again. I think Atlanta actually wins pretty big. I'm going to take him 27-14.
Fairly close to me. I'm taking Atlanta 26-17.
Yeah. So that's crazy that we don't even have it as a
one-score
one
game
possession
in
game. Yeah.
Tampa.
What do you think the line of that game is?
I'd say before Monday night, the Bucks would have been favored by about 2.5.
Yep.
And I'd say now it's probably 4.5 to Atlanta.
Atlanta by 2.5. So we're
Okay.
definitely high on Atlanta compared to consensus. Green Bay,
You're
Jacksonville.
going, aren't you?
No, I actually canceled it. I had some stuff come up, but
that's right.
yeah. So Green Bay, Jacksonville. On paper, Green Bay should win this game. Green Bay is a top 5 team in a lot of different metrics, like point differential and things like that. But this game makes me a little nervous just because I think Jacksonville's desperate. They've made it through London, not completely dead.
Yeah.
I thought if they had lost to New England, I thought the wheels would have come off and this would have been an easy win for Green Bay, but that did not happen. And I think they might be figuring out that Brian Thomas is actually really good at football and they should stop trying to feed Gabe Davis.
Do you know he has more receiving yards right now than every other Jaguars first-round wide receiver combined
In history?
in history.
Yeah, because who are their first round receivers? Justin
Matt
Blackman.
Jones, Justin Blackman.
Yeah. Matt Jones's nickname was Coke Zero, I think. The Jags are just a train wreck. Historically, outside of the 90s, they're just stupid. They make so many stupid mistakes in the draft. But I think Brian Thomas is legit. They got something there. They got to figure it. I think they figured out that Tank Bigsby is actually their best running back. It's not Travis Etienne, but I don't know if they figured that out or that just Travis Etienne was hurt. But they actually ran the ball pretty well against New England, like you mentioned earlier. It makes me a little nervous just because Green Bay historically does not play well in the state of Florida. It is probably going to be a warm game. But I just on paper, I can't pick against the Packers just because they are that much better of a team than Jacksonville is right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep it close. I'm going to take Green Bay by 4, 24-20.
Yeah. This technically does have the makings of a trap game for Green Bay because, you had a big game last week against Houston, and I think they have a pretty big game next week, don't they?
Next week, I think I should know this because I just looked at it 20 minutes ago. They have Detroit the next weekend. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, it has, like I said, the makings of a trap game.
It's home against Detroit. Yeah.
Oh, home against Detroit. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, they play the line. They're at Detroit the week after Thanksgiving on a Thursday night.
Oh, that's exciting. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. So you're right though. They could be looking ahead. That's definitely a possibility. I think this game makes me really nervous because this is a game that most people are just going to pencil Green Bay in as a winner. I think a lot of people will probably take them in a survivor set, a survivor pool if they play in one. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think it's going to be a close game. And the one thing about the Packers that a big criticism Jordan Love has gotten for as many touchdowns as he's thrown, and like I said, he's such a joy to watch. Right, a lot of interceptions.
Him and Mahomes lead the NFL in interceptions.
However, did you know that Jordan Love has 8 turnover-worthy plays?
Yeah, so a lot of bad luck.
He has 8 interceptions and 8 turnover-worthy plays. So basically, every time he makes a mistake, the defense is capitalized on the mistake. He actually
I don't think every interception technically is a turnover.
No, what I'm saying though is every time he's making a mistake,
it's 1 for 1 basically.
It's turning into an actual recorded turnover.
Yeah,
he has less turnover-worthy plays than Josh Allen does, and Josh Allen hasn't thrown an interception all year.
Yeah,
so I do think that at least
there might be some positive regression for him.
We should see some positive regression on the turnover front for the Packers, and if that's the case, and they remain as explosive as they have, they should win big. But it's the NFL, and I know this team. Every time they travel to Florida, I get nervous. I can't explain it.
I'm going to take Green Bay 31-21, but I think it's going to be a game where they pull away late. I think they might like hammer Jacobs like towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the reason. I think it'll be close maybe at halftime.
Yeah.
But I think Green Bay will pull away in the second half.
Is Jacobs healthy? Because I think he did have a little bit of a I don't think he's on the injury report. So I think
I'm so sorry. You have Jonathan Vilma. Too bad you're not going to the game.
I think we do pretty well when he calls our games, though.
He is a joy to listen to, though.
Yeah, but we had him against the Cardinals, and that was fun. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll go to the next game here. Colts Texans.
Bigger game than it was a few weeks ago.
The Colts too are like they're not good. I can tell you that.
It's a typical Chris Ballard team.
They're 4-3.
If they only had a quarterback, we're saying. If they only had a quarterback.
They're 4-3, and you know what? They should have beat the Texans week 1. That's the crazy part about this whole thing. They should be 5-2, and they've been missing. They had, they're also a team, to their credit, like they didn't have their starting quarterback for a couple weeks, and they pretty much treaded water. And they're 4-3. That Jacksonville loss might look pretty bad at the end of the season. With that being said, I think Houston is one of the best teams in the AFC. Even though they lost to Green Bay last weekend, I was so impressed by their defense. They are so – I think they make everything difficult for opposing offenses.
Yeah.
The one thing that they have to figure out is with Nico Collins out, their passing game's ugly. Like,
yes.
I mean, they had less than 100 yards passing last weekend. And Green Bay's secondary's been good, but they got to figure that out quick, or Nico Collins needs to come back quick. I'm going to take an upset, though. I'm going to take the Colts in a weird game, because there's always one weird game, and this is going to be my weird game. I'll take the Colts 26-19. I think they get an upset win and make the AFC South suddenly like a complete toss-up.
I want to take the Colts. I just have Anthony Richardson is just
he's bad.
He's so depressing.
Or he's great. It depends on what play.
Well, his big time throw rate is very good, because that's all he does is hit big time plays. But everything else is like the easy stuff is hard for him, and the hard stuff is easy for him.
You remember Adam Dunn for the Reds?
Oh, how could I forget? He played for the White Sox too.
That he's like the Adam Dunn of quarterbacks, where it's just like 60% of the time he's going 3 and out. Like it's just unwatchable.
Yeah.
But man, when he hits, it's like a highlight.
Yeah. And like Adam Dunn always had a slugging percentage of like 7, or his OPS was always like 750, 800, but his batting average was like 200 or 190.
Yeah. And I'll say this, I think this is the kind of game where like they need this game to kind of stay in contention. And I think they might actually hit some of the big plays. Jonathan Taylor should be back playing for them. And I think that's going to be super helpful because he hasn't been healthy, recently. I like the Colts. Simply, it's not really necessarily about the Colts. I don't like the Texans' offense right now.
Yeah,
I think it'll be better by the end of the year. Because once Collins comes back, Collins is one of the best receivers in the league right now.
Yes, he is. He certainly is.
And I think when he's out of the lineup, I don't think Dell and Diggs are enough of a threat. You can tell Stroud doesn't have an answer, and they ran the ball pretty good on Green Bay, but to me, this is more of an indictment on what I think the Texans' offense is right now. And I think all the Colts can win this game if they just hit 2 big plays. And then kick some field goals, and their defense is actually I think playing okay. It's a weird team though. The Colts they might be
gotten a lot better than they were when they looked early on in the year.
Yeah. But I'll take the Colts and I want the AFC South to be interesting.
I I am going to take Houston to win by a field. I think it's going to be 23-20. A lot of obviously that would have 5 field goals in the game from both teams. So I think, Houston's offense isn't enough for me to believe in them yet. And if it was Joe Flacco playing, I would probably take the Colts to win because Joe Flacco, I don't think DeMeco Ryans would frustrate Joe Flacco as much as he is going to frustrate Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's to me the biggest gap right there is DeMeco Ryans and his defense against Anthony Richardson. And I think that'll be the difference.
Yeah. Saints Chargers. The Drew Brees Bowl.
Jinx.
Yeah. I like the Chargers in this game. I think the Saints have been obviously one of the worst teams in the entire league over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Jesus, they were terrible last Thursday.
I mean, I get it. Like Derek Carr didn't play, but I still think the drop off to their backup quarterback I didn't think it was that big.
It shouldn't have been. Well, I mean, like their defense looked like they forgot how to tackle.
This team is probably like, I take that back. The Saints need to be like part of that on that list with like Cleveland and Carolina.
Yes. The Saints are a part of that now. Yes.
Do you know what their cap number is in 2025?
Negative 72 million.
Yeah, you looked it up. But like,
I was looking at it today. Yeah, and I seen a Saints fan that was like, he was like, don't you understand? This is all supposed to reset after 2025. And so I looked at the 2026 salary cap, and they are technically under the cap, but they have, at this point, they have 43 guys under contract in 2 years. And so that is definitely going to correct. They still won't be able to add any. They haven't been able to, I know we talked about this in the summer.
They started 2-0 and they made everybody go like, maybe they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
No, they don't know what they're doing. They just re-upped Alvin Kamara the other day. They don't seem to learn from any of their mistakes. They should have, and I know I said this 3 months ago, they should have, as soon as Drew Brees retired, traded everybody and ripped the Band-Aid off then. And they just love to kick the can.
Yeah. And for what? To be 2-5?
Yeah.
About to be 2-6.
And another frustrating team, the Chargers. Poor Justin Herbert, man.
Yeah. And that was like such a classic Chargers loss.
That was such a classic Chargers loss.
Like they had it won. They just didn't make a play. It was like one play. If they make one play, they win.
Yeah.
I think though this is the type of team Jimmy Harbaugh and his team are just going to smash.
Yeah, I think
they're going to run over the Saints.
I know the Chargers have not even come close to eclipsing. Well, I shouldn't say come close. Their offense hasn't looked fiery yet. I think they're going to drop like 34 points.
I'm going 38-17.
38. Yeah. I'll go 34-16.
Yeah. This is the perfect 405 game, by the way. Like this will be like we're watching the end of the 1 o'clock games. And you're like, oh, by the way, we got Saints Chargers.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll watch overtime here.
Yeah. And then by the time we like, oh, that game's happening, it's gonna be like 17-0 Chargers.
Yeah.
Bills Seahawks, an underrated game because like I predicted last week, that was like my big call.
Yeah, you were right
on the Seahawks because I thought like that it just felt kind of like a game Atlanta was destined to lose with the way like I thought they were kind of a fraud team and Seattle was desperate and they came in and played like it. Want to see where DK Metcalf is in this game. I think their offense is completely different when he's not on the field, just because they have nobody that can replicate what he brings as an X receiver. Because Tyler Lockett ain't that guy, and JSN is definitely not that guy in terms of stretching the field, being a high ADOT player.
Yeah, he's been kind of disappointing.
Yes, very. That being said, this is a very weird spot. Like this is always the game I feel like Buffalo would lose. when I looked at
Yeah.
their schedule because it's like you're at Seattle. It's a weird place to play. Like there's and like you can't predict this stuff, but like part of me is like Josh Allen's gonna throw 3 picks in this game, and Seattle's gonna win.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be because Seattle outplays Buffalo. It's because like I think the turnover regression is gonna hit the the Bills this week. I'm gonna go Seattle in an upset, 21-17.
Yeah, it certainly does feel like that. It seems like there's almost more reasons to pick. Well, I
Buffalo's
shouldn't
last
say
2 wins were bad against bad teams too.
yeah. And yeah, like I you don't want to double up the upset kind of pick, but it does feel like a game Buffalo is just not going to win.
Yeah, it's just a weird game. It's a team traveling
it's hard
3,000
to
miles, and
explain.
and I think the Seahawks know they have an opportunity in front of them right now.
Yes.
Especially if the Rams lose on Thursday night, like the 49ers
49ers lose
have a
on
game later
Sunday
that
night?
evening against a desperate team themselves, and they're beat up. The Seahawks have a shot to maybe go up 2 games in the division.
Yeah.
So this could, I mean,
It's a huge spot.
and I like Mike McDonald, but just part of me thinks that like he's gonna have something dialed up for this Bills attack. And I
Yeah.
think Josh Allen will put up yards. I don't think they'll have trouble moving the ball, but it's gonna be
It'll
like
be one of those Josh Allen arm punt games, where he throws, on 3rd and 6,
Yeah.
a 40-yard interception.
I see it going one of 2 ways. The Bills win by 10 or the Seahawks win by like 4. So
Yeah, and I
like
feel
I
like
said, I'm
the Seahawks
gonna go
win by 4.
21-17.
Yeah, I'll say 22-17. Well, no, that's too close to you. 22-14, Seattle. Kind of a weird score, but
Okay.
Super Bowl 50 rematch.
Yes. And speaking of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, we get Bo Nix against Bryce Young.
Oh boy, this is gonna be a big one.
Yeah. I will say, as much as we have made fun of, well, you have made fun. I've actually defended Bo Nix, which sounds silly at some points, and then Bo Nix is weird. He's really bad and really good all at the same time. It's quite an experience. But I'll ask a question in this scenario. If you were the Panthers, would you have brought Bryce Young back in this game?
Well, I think the only reason why they're bringing him back is the car accident that Andy Dalton got into.
Is that the reason why?
Even though I guess that him and his family didn't go to the hospital, but I feel like they're using that as an out to put in Bryce Young now.
They're so clueless, though.
Yeah, because the other day they just said that maybe he did. I don't know. I didn't hear an injury report for Dalton after the car accident.
I didn't either.
Like he was getting checked out at the facility.
He played like crap against the Commanders.
He was terrible. Yeah,
he was terrible. But I think this game is more just about how bad the Panthers are, and I think the Broncos are one of those teams like they have been a beneficiary of how bad their schedule has been.
Yes,
they're 4-3, and their wins are against Tampa was weird, and that was a good win.
Yes,
to their credit. But Jets, Raiders, Saints are their last 3 wins.
Yeah,
those are 3 of the bottom 8 teams in the NFL right now. And the Saints and the Raiders, especially, are probably bottom 5 of the last month. I think Denver wins this by default because I think Bo Nix is good enough to put up 20 points and get the dub. And I'll say this, like Bo Nix has exceeded expectations, I think, of most people, because I think most people thought he would just be bad. I think he's right in line where I thought he would be, where he's not necessarily costing them games, but I do not see him being a difference-making quarterback year one, like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are proving to be.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Denver 27-13.
I'm
Bo
going
Nix
24-13. I think it's going to be kind of one of those games that you're just glad
you
it's
forget
over.
about. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing really to say.
Yeah, you're ready to go to the next game. I'll give you a fun. I'll give you my score. I really don't want to talk about the Raiders anymore, but I'm just going to
I
give
don't
you
even
my
want to talk
score.
about the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are the worst 6-0 team that I can think of. Are they 5-0? They're 5-0.
No, they're 6-0.
I thought they had a bye week.
Even
we're week 8.
still.
So yeah, they're 6-0.
Even,
Yep.
yeah.
Sorry.
I could see the Chiefs kind of limping their way to 17-0.
You know
Could you imagine how maddening that would be?
I can't call them frauds because they did win the Super Bowl last year, and I can see them winning again because it's Mahomes and it's Andy Reid.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to doubt that. So I refuse to call them frauds, but like analytically speaking, this team is a fraud. I still think they win this game. I'm gonna go. Mahomes has his best day of the season so far, 27-10. Give me the Chiefs. This game's more about the Chiefs defense, though.
Yeah.
The Raiders are just god awful on offense. The other thing too, what is a fun fact about this game is name Kansas City's last loss.
The Raiders on Christmas Day.
Yep. So against Antonio Pierce, I mean,
yeah.
There's your story. It's a revenge game.
I'm taking Kansas City 30-7. You know, even the thing with Mahomes, do you know what's kind of weird is by success rate, he's still like top 6 in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you looked at his touchdown interception ratio, obviously it's not good because it's -2 right now. That's not how ratios work. I'm a math teacher. It would be 0.75 touchdowns to 1 interception. Yeah. But anyways, I
think
it's but he's technically doing the right things. So the interceptions technically have just not been that costly, but they got Nuke Hopkins, but Nuke Hopkins is not the same receiver he was 6-7 years ago.
Chiefs offense right now is all about how they run the ball. And
yeah, and it has been like that the last 2 years.
Well, and when they lost Pacheco, I think we all had questions about that, but Kareem Hunt's actually been excellent for them. And that'll be really fun to kind of see when Pacheco does come back. Like, how are they going to utilize both of them? Because I don't think they're going to take Kareem Hunt off the field. Like, they're not going to just scrap him and let Pacheco be like the bell cow. I think it's going to end up being a mix there. But Kansas City, what makes them special and what people got to understand is like their defense is great and they find ways to win offensively. So when everybody started playing too high safety against Tyreek Hill, what do? They traded Tyreek Hill and then they found like a new identity and they have won in multiple ways. And it's really kind of a testament to how good Andy Reid is as a coach.
Yeah.
And Mahomes willing to, kind of sacrifice some of his own statistics, and he's not going to lead the league in passing yards and all of that. And they're still going to be a winning team at the end of the day. So, but yeah, we're both going Chiefs in this game. No question.
Yeah.
Best game of the weekend, in my opinion, is this, assuming the first question is Jaden Daniels playing. If he doesn't, give me the Bears by 10, 27-17. Marcus Mariota, for as good as he was against Carolina, this Bears defense is a lot better than that. But if Daniels plays, I think it's a really close game. High scoring, 31-27. I'm taking the Commanders. I'll let you talk about this game since you're a Bears fan.
Yeah. Well, it's weird that the Bears would ever be the game of the week. I'm not used to that.
It's a fun game.
Yeah, it is.
But we get both quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, it is. It's a really fun game. In terms of, I mean, I don't think. I mean, and everybody's wildest hopes, they would have hoped that Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams would have looked as good as they have been
Yeah.
going
This is
into
the
this
Tom
game.
Brady game, right?
No, this is Nance and Romo.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
CBS doing this game.
It's the first Bears Commander CBS game since 1991. It's also the first Bears Commanders or Washington game that both teams have been over 500 since 1991. So it's been a long time since a Bears Washington game has meant this much, I guess you would say, in the standings. Yeah, I also kind of think even if Jaden Daniels does play, that the Bears might have a defense that might be able to bottle him somewhat. I've been always worried about Jaden Daniels, his obviously his frame. Like the hit he took didn't seem like, I was surprised that that was the one that got him injured. But when you think about it, when you're kind of built like he is, it wouldn't take as much. If Daniels does play, I will take Washington, but I think it'll be like 23-20. I don't think it'll be high scoring. I think both teams, this is a good matchup of good defensive head coaches. I think they'll have ways to keep the other one down.
Yeah.
If Mariota plays, I think the Bears would win that one, but I'd take them only by a touchdown, like maybe 28.
This will probably be the best defense
20.
Daniels plays this season.
Yeah, I don't think, because he won't play Detroit.
Yeah.
He won't.
I also think if you're a Bears fan, you're excited about the idea of your receiving core with DJ Moore, and I think Odunze
that's the other thing. Like
your secondary, I think is very
excited about the Bears, but I mean, like the way and I know who they played, but you can only play who's on the schedule. And the other thing too, I've kind of said about the teams that the Bears have played, any team in the NFL would be happy with back-to-back 3-score victories. Doesn't matter who you're playing, right? That's the thing.
NFL, man.
Too, and last year, people are saying, well, yeah, Caleb had his coming out party against the Panthers. That same Panthers team last year, the Bears beat by a field goal. If Justin Fields was playing for the Bears this year against those Panthers and those Jaguars teams, they might win the games, but they don't win them by 3 scores.
Yeah.
The running game has come to life recently, which has been great. DeAndre Swift has actually been very good the last 3 games he's played.
I think where the Bears,
it'll be interesting who plays quarterback for Washington.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate deciding factor in my opinion, just because Daniels, in my opinion, is that valuable. Just like if Caleb Williams went down, we would also discount the Bears a lot.
Yes.
I think for the Bears to win this game, if Daniels plays, I think a lot of it will come down to big plays have to be made downfield with DJ Moore or Odunze against him.
I think Odunze is really close to having a monster game.
I think he's your second best receiver. I think he's better. I
think he is.
I think they're trying to force Allen into the offense. I think, but in my opinion, this offense feels at its best when Odunze is actually the number 2.
Yeah,
that's my belief. But you got to keep Allen happy.
Cole Kmet has been a very good tight end this year too for the Bears, which is
well, I think he's taking advantage. He's just like, there's so many. He's wide open over the middle of the field, and Caleb's
top 5 in receptions, yards, and touchdowns for tight ends right now.
Yeah, Kmet's been excellent.
Yeah,
the Bears have been fun. This will be a fun game, regardless, assuming Daniels plays.
It's a huge game for the Bears, obviously, for what lies ahead of them for their schedule. They have to. You never want to look too far ahead, but you have to get to the Green Bay game at the worst 6-3.
Next game. So who would have thought Bears Commanders would be the NFC game of the week and not this game? This game to me is more about, okay, so who's going away? Because I think if the Cowboys lose this, their path to a playoff spot is really kind of grim.
Yeah.
The selling point I'd make for the Cowboys is they're 3-0 on the road this year. They don't win at home.
And they had a bye week, so they might have been able to get recollected.
And McCarthy historically is pretty good off buys. So not Andy Reid good, but pretty good. I just think San Francisco, they've got so many injuries. They're not the same team anywhere close to where they were last year. And I even think on defense, like they're showing a little bit of their age.
Yeah.
Like the Cardinal game is what stood out to me is like Kyler kind of was able to make the plays when he needed to win that game. And what no one realizes is San Francisco, like they lost that game and they had a crazy special teams touchdown on a blocked field goal in that game against Arizona. Then last week, like, you know, they, for all intents and purposes, like I think they just got outclassed last week. I mean, against Kansas City. Like watching that game, Kansas City was a lot better. It wasn't like that close of a game, in my opinion. I really hate this game. I do not like either one of these teams. But part of me is just I think San Francisco just wins this because they're at home. And I think Purdy's actually playing okay. He had a poor game last week. I think he'll rebound. I give the 49ers a touchdown win, 27-20.
Yeah, Sanford, and now
I don't like the pick though. I just don't know.
Now with Ayuk out, Jawan Jennings is injured. I think even
they don't have anybody. Ricky Pearsall. The guy that got shot as their healthiest receiver. I mean, Deebo Samuel was in the hospital with pneumonia on Monday.
Yeah.
Like he had to go to the hospital because he had fluid in his lungs. Like this team is in rough shape. Like McCaffrey, we don't know if he'll ever come back at this point. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're just a mess. The thing that you have to buy into it is like, do you buy into Shanahan? Can he make magic with this? I still think he can. This team's not Super Bowl good, but I think they can beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think they'll shade the Cowboys too. It'll be a fun game for the fact that both teams will be desperate.
Oh, if your team is good this year, and like you know, if Green Bay and Chicago both were winning on Sunday, and like we'd sit down for Sunday night, you and me are gonna like crack open a beer, maybe get a cup of popcorn, and be like, "This is great!
Can't wait!"
We can watch one of these two seasons end.
I'll give you a call like when I'm on the way to get ice cream, as I do on a Sunday night, and yeah, that was a great day for us. What's the score of the game? Oh, San Francisco is really struggling to move the ball.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. But see, when our teams lose on Sunday, we're both like, just turn it off. And
I don't want to watch.
I'll be so you have San Francisco.
Back. Do you know what is an interesting thing? Our buddy Aaron Schatz pointed this out today or yesterday. San Francisco has the second worst special teams by DVOA in football, and Dallas is the best. So if this game is close, a special teams play might decide this one. You know what? I'm going to change my prediction. I think Dallas wins it based on a special teams play. Either a big punt return, a big kick return, a block, something like that. I think that's going to be the difference. I think otherwise both teams in different ways are very similar right now.
They both are heading in the wrong direction.
They're both heading in the wrong direction after nobody would have suspected that. I'm
Two
going to
best
take
teams
Dallas
in the NFC last year.
26-21.
Okay. 26-21. All right. Yeah. So you got Cowboys, I got Niners, and we both hate our picks.
Yes.
So, And then the last game, we get the best for last. Giants Steelers.
Oh my God. I
I've
hate when the NFL clusters primetime games for teams. Like
I feel like we've gotten so many Steelers games.
so many Steelers night
And
games, so
Giants.
many Jets night. The Jets are going to play on Halloween next week, so we still
Yeah.
have another.
We're getting because this is our third Giants game of the month in prime time because we had a Thursday night game, a Sunday night game, and now a Monday night
Yeah,
game.
that's
And
right.
then the Steelers were on again. They had the Cowboys at home.
They had two. They were on Sunday Night Football 2 of 3 weeks.
They had the Cowboys at home, the Jets. And if you're a fan of like a season ticket holder in Pittsburgh and you have 8 home games this year, you have to be kind of pissed off that like 3 of your home games before it gets cold
Yeah.
are night games.
Yeah.
Like that would be like I would be a little irritated if that were me because it's like because night games are such a pain to go to.
Yeah.
Anyway, in this game, I think New York is bad, really bad.
Yeah.
They had a classic mirage where they're like, oh, maybe they're not bad. Yeah, they're bad. Like it's the Steelers get to do a little New York back to back, by the way.
Yeah.
They did the Jets and then the Giants. But I'm taking the Steelers in a very ugly game. I think the Russ like coming out party was also a mirage. I think it's gonna be lower scoring. I'm gonna go 19-14.
Did you see his passing chart?
No, I'm assuming it's always what Russell Wilson does, and everything was like outside the numbers.
Yes, I think he threw one pass inside the numbers, and it didn't even break inside the hashes.
Well, like he's never been that guy though.
No, he hasn't. Which is that tells you where Sauce Gardner is right now. That I mean, like the Jets could have sat on everything, but no, I think the Steelers win this game.
You know what's disappointing is the weather's supposed to be really nice in Pittsburgh on Monday. It's like high of 70, low of 50. And like this would be the perfect game.
Cold weather, like
yeah. You remember 2007? They played the Dolphins.
Oh my God, yeah.
The mud game.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Daniel Jones playing in that would just be amazing.
Oh,
because like he is so reckless with his body. He would be like sliding in the mud and like he'd be like going 8 yards.
He'd be doing like the torpedo, like
you would see Daniel Jones's like legs are just like going like this way. And the only thing funnier than him playing in the weather would be if they had Will Levis in the mud game.
Yeah,
because Will Levis like collected memes over the last like 5 weeks.
He's like, yeah, he is the meme collector right now. Yeah. It's
What's your prediction for this game though? And then we'll go out with that.
21-16 Steelers.